Soil texture. And what is soil texture? It is a measure of how gritty or how smooth or how rough the soil is. Remember, we have 3 types of soils, and they are how do we tell texture? We take a sample of the soil and feel it with our hands. That helps us to know, because some types of soils are gritty, rough to touch. Some types of soil are soft. Some types of soil, somewhere there. So, soil texture depends on the relative proportions of sand, clay, and silt that are found within soil. For example, let's start to talk about sandy soil. Sandy soil is made up of a big proportion of sand. Sandy soil is over 70% sand. Remember, the components are sand, clay, and silt. So, what about gravel? Not really. Gravel does not really make up soil, but it's small rock particles that are further breaking down into the smaller particles. Remember, these are the inorganic particles we talked about earlier. So, sandy soil has a lot of sand in it, up to 70% of the whole composition. Sand soil by property feels gritty to touch. It has a lot of air spaces. Well aerated, it drains water very easily. A lot of air spaces, and therefore can lose water very easily. So it can lose water very easily to the large particles. The same happens to the mineral salts. It cannot have capillarity. Capillarity is the rise and fall of a liquid within very narrow spaces. Since it has wide spaces, it does not have capillarity. So that is about sandy soil. We call it sandy soil because it has a lot of sand particles that make up the biggest component, the biggest percentage of the whole soil. But you can tell that now that it cannot have it, now that it drains water very quickly, now that it has very low mineral components, now that water it has very low capillarity, then it cannot be good for farming. Well, we can improve it to make it suitable for farming by adding humus, by adding more humus. So humus clamps the particles together, improving their retention of water, improving their capillarity, and therefore improving their retention of mineral salts. Then it can be very good for farming. We have talked about sandy soil. Now let us talk about clay soil too. Now, clay soil, we call it clay soil because it has a large proportion of it as clay particles, up to 40% of it being clay particles. Clay particles are very soft to touch. Soft to touch. So in that you can even make amount out of it very easily, unlike sand. So it's soft to touch. It has very small air spaces between it. Air spaces between particles. And because of that, it is poorly aerated, meaning it has little air, oxygen, nitrogen, and other components in it. Because it has very small spaces within it, it also has very high water retention. Very high water retention, and it has very high capillarity. That is to say that water goes down and up through the particles very well. That is capillarity actually. You can find some water floating on top of it because of capillarity effect. And it has very many mineral salts, so it's very rich. It's so rich in mineral salts that if you actually taste it, it has a taste. It's should I say salty? It has a taste to it because it's so rich in mineral salts. As you lose water through it, water gets locked within the particles, and because of that, it gets very sticky and therefore hard to cultivate. We can improve its properties, hence make it better for farming by adding humus. What does humus do? It holds small particles together, some of the clay particles together, hence improving the flocculation, improving the way how water can go through it. That stops it from being very waterlogged, and therefore it can be good for farming because check, it has very many minerals that plants really need for growing. But remember, it has very little air spaces, so if plant roots have to go down through it, they're going to suffocate because they need air to carry out the respiration that they need. So by adding humus to it, we increase the air spaces between it, we improve on the water drainage, just making it better for farming. The third type, and one of the favorite types of soil, is what is called Lummy soil or loam soil. Now, this is the type of soil that has just the perfect combinations of silt, sand, and clay. It has just the appropriate, the proportionate portions. Because of that, remember, clay has very small particles, sand has large particles, clay has small air particles, sand has large air particles. Loam soil ends up with moderate. And because of the almost equal proportion, it has moderate capillarity. Actually, it's very rich in humus. Loam soil has a very good amount of humus, which is decaying or decayed matter, and that is what is actually very crucial in providing plants with the nutrients, and animals too, and other organisms like bacteria with the nutrients they need for life. Loam soil has moderate water retention. it has moderate drainage. Most plants need a given amount of water, not too much of it and not too little of it. And it has moderate air and it has good humus. And therefore, since it has moderate air spaces within it, it has moderate capillarity. And because of that, isn't it the most efficient soil type to farm with? I think it is. So our next point is to look at the comparison between the two extremes of soil. That is to say, the one that has very huge particles and the one that has very small particles. That is clay soil and sand soil. Do these differences in form of a table. On one side we shall put sand soil, on the other we shall put clay soil. So let's put sand soil on one of the sides. You can remember some of the properties. Those are the ones you're going to compare. So we have sand soil this end and clay soil this end. That sand soil has very large air particles. Hence, well aerated. Has very large air particles and hence it has enough air in it. How about clay soil? It has small air particles hence it is poorly aerated. That's one of the comparisons. Something else. Sandy soil has very low capillarity. Meaning that if you put water in sand soil, it can't easily go up and down through the sand. How about clay? It has high capillarity. We also said that sand soil has very high drainage. It has high drainage. By this we mean it is very easy at losing the water that has been put into it. How about clay soil? It has low drainage. And therefore, if it has high drainage sand soil, it means that it has low retention. So this one has low water retention. How about this one? It has high water retention. We also said that sand has very low mineral content. Low mineral content. Mineral content. And how about this one? It has high mineral content. Are there any other differences? Yes, there are. Can you figure them out? Yes, if you take your time with the two types of soil. But for now, we shall stop at these, at those differences. And that is all about soil texture. We have looked at the different proportions of sand, silt, and clay that make up the different types of soil, that is to say sandy, clay, and loamy soil.